How much of your discontent is a function of a misalignment between your ideals and reality? Let me explain. I have this feeling that a lot of us judge our life based on what it should be, what we think it should be. And we compare this ideal, this should, with our reality. And our reality always comes up short. Because how can it? How can reality live up to an ideal? And furthermore, I posit that this ideal is instilled upon us in childhood, in school. Take, for example, the idea of a friendship. We learn through school, through television shows, through external sources of what a friendship should be and what it means to have friends and all of these sort of things. And I'm using friendships as a proxy for everything here. But take the idea of a friendship. What does it mean to be popular, to have friends, to have people that care about you? It will be triggering a bunch of emotions and ideas and visions and in your mind that is sort of pointing towards this sort of phasey, vague idea of what it means to have a friendship. Now compare that to your lived experience. Whatever your lived experience won't ever really fit that ideal. How can it, right? But the problem is that if we sit in this space of rumination, if we sit in this space of comparison, if we sit in this space of sort of judgment, we will always fall short. And we'll always fall short on every aspect of our life. On friendship, on romance, on work, on family, on progression, of just absolutely every aspect. Because what it means to, for example, be successful will be this ideal thing. We've got this storyboard pushed upon us, idealized, internalized conception of what it means to be successful. But the reality of success is far more complex than whatever it is we've sort of built up, this childlike perspective of success. So what I want to posit in this little talk is that there is a misalignment of the ideals that were instilled upon us from our past to the reality that we're lived, our lived experience, our lived reality, what we're going through right now. I had this realization today when I was hanging around with friends, and I'm like, I don't really feel that liked, I don't really feel that appreciated, I don't really feel that loved, And then I realized, I'm like, no, hang on. I have all of those things that I don't really feel. But I don't really feel liked, loved, appreciated, yada yada, in the way that I was sort of, for lack of a better expression, trained to think. I'm a, what would you call it? I'm 35? Millennial? What does that make me? Gen X? Whatever. And I was raised on television. And in that year, in that space, in that time, in that place, there were certain sort of norms of what it meant to be popular, what friends did and acted like. And this was largely informed by the media of the time. Also, through high school. High school is this melting pot, this forced social connection. You're forced to be around people all of the time. And you're forced to fit the dynamics. Whilst you're, transforming, whilst you're learning, whilst you're going through puberty, it's this real sort of dynamic situation informed by external sources. Combine that with, the parental situation, mental health concerns. It's all this melting pot. But that leaves a mark. The popular kids, the unpopular kids, all of this sort of stuff. Skip forward 20 years, and where does that leave you? Well, it leaves me comparing my reality versus the ideal that is not even really true, right? It's just sort of the perception that I had in my lived experience of my life. But my current life, my current existence, can't ever match that, and it shouldn't. Take the concept of a best friend, for example. What is that? That doesn't even really make sense. It's a construct. So that, for example, if you had this value of having a best friend growing up, and, adults don't really sort of do best friends. Well, some do, maybe. But if you don't have one, you're now lacking. My contention with this entire talk is this. Perhaps you have what you feel you're lacking, but it just looks a bit different. It's like wearing a mask, so to speak. What you think that you are lacking exists in your life. And this, like I said, could apply to work, friendships, relationships, your partner, activities, success, failure, whatever it is. Just the way that you're sort of viewing your life may, in fact, you may have it already. The thing you're looking for, the thing you think you're lacking, could already exist just under a different mask, just through a different sort of gaze. I have friends. I have that connection. It's all there, but it doesn't look like what I was trained to think it looked like. My success, the online success that I've found with my poetry books, with my coaching, with the teaching that I do online, all the things that I'm doing that are making me successful, that people are looking up to me for, that doesn't feel like or look like what I was trained to believe success would look like. Because how can it? Because you don't actually see the full story. No matter how many sitcoms I watched, no matter how many books I've read, no matter how many stories I've consumed, no matter how many people I spoke to, no matter how many people I saw doing the thing that I aspired to do or that I'm doing now, you never live their lived experience. You're never in their mind. You never see it from their internal perspective. It's like a failure of imagination. You only saw the highlight reel. Modern days we have social media. Everyone's putting out this presentation of whatever they want to project to the world. It's a false positive. It's a false truth. It's not the full truth, at least. Combine that with the algorithms presenting to you the different parts of what it knows you will want to consume. You end up in this echo chamber of false positives, proving, showing, directing you down a path of what it means to be successful, beautiful, loved, connected, yada, yada, yada. None of it is a true, full representation of the reality. Yeah, that person that looks great is in the gym every day, dieting every day, right? That quote-unquote successful person with a small business is grinding every day, working more hours than they can, than it seems possible. It's when you start comparing your reality to the ideal, you will come up short because your ideal is a false representation of a truth that you're now living, and perhaps you already have what you think you are lacking. That's the contention. That's what I want to leave you with this talk. The idea that perhaps the ideals, the constructs you grew up upon, maybe you already have what they're pointing to you. Maybe your reality is vibrant, just differently. Maybe you need to look around, take a breath, get mindful, and look at what you've got. Because you are probably missing some of the beauty of your life by looking for, by hunting for, by wishing for the ideal. What do you think? Let me know. Hey there, podcast. Thanks for listening. I just wanted to take a few moments to give you a bit of an insight into the things I've got going on that you might want to check out. The first is my free 12-week email course called Hunt Your Own Shadow. Each week, you'll be sent an exclusive guided audio track, introspective contemplation, and expansion challenge, all with the goal of helping you to identify and release the limiting beliefs that no longer serve you. You'll also have access to email coaching and a plethora of other resources. If you are keen, you can sign up via the link in the show notes. I also want to let you know that I have an ever-growing collection of courses on Insight Timer and Skillshare, focusing on meditation, self-improvement, creative writing, healing, and personal development. With thousands of students, engaged classrooms, and many, many 5-star reviews, these courses will transform your life, helping you move from surviving to passionately thriving. And as a bonus, on Insight Timer, I also have hundreds of free guided meditations and contemplations for you to enjoy. You can check out the links to my Skillshare and Insight Timer profiles via the links in the show notes. I've also published a bunch of books that you might like. How to Get Your Shit Together is quite literally the last self-help book you'll ever need. It begins with the 7 principles you need to turn your life around, followed by 6 sections that will help you to overcome anxiety, defeat depression, move on from trauma, get organized, find meaning, and follow your dreams. How to Get Your Shit Together has the potential to turn your life around, to improve your mental state, functionality, and overall health. It's out now as a paperback, ebook, and audio. If you're into poetry, I'll suggest you check out my collections, including the best-selling new releases for Australian and Oceania poetry called Bound to the Wings of a Butterfly and A Requiem for What Could Have Been. If you are a poet or wanting to be one, you may also appreciate my book, How to Write Evocative Poetry. This is a guidebook for unlocking creativity, expressing truth, and captivating imagination. It contains examples and breakdowns of my best works, along with guided instructions that will get you writing evocative poetry yourself. All these books are available in paperback, ebook, and audio, and you can grab a copy via the links in the show notes. Finally, if you're interested in working with me, I offer one-on-one coaching and mentoring, helping spiritualists, entrepreneurs, and coaches navigate dark nights of the soul, guiding them to take themselves from surviving to passionately thriving, using tips, tools, and techniques that enable them to process the past, accept the present, and embrace the future with positivity and purpose. I only take on a few clients at a time, so if this sounds like something you'd be keen for, you can find out more and apply to work with me via the link in the show notes. And you can check all of those offerings out and more via my website, zachary-phillips.com, or follow me on social media everywhere at Zach B. Phillips. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Catch ya.